A man can work his entire life and still own nothing. That is not a moral judgment, it's a structural reality. Across many economies, including places like Jamaica, most people are trained to become excellent earners but poor owners. They master labor but never cross the threshold into asset control. Income pays bills, ownership builds power. The distinction is rarely taught clearly. A salary, no matter how large, is temporary. It depends on the continuation of labor. Stop working and the income stops. Ownership works differently. Ownership allows value to exist independent of daily effort. When someone owns an asset, three things begin to happen. First, time starts working for them. Asset appreciates, produce dividends, or generate cash flow while the owner sleeps. Second, leverage becomes possible. Banks lend more readily against assets than against effort. A person who owns property, shares, or business can use those assets to acquire additional assets. Third, ownership changes behavior. Owners think in decades, earners often think in pay cycles. Consider the difference between two individuals over 20 years. One focuses on income, promotions, salary increases, bonuses. The other focuses on accumulation, shares, property, business, intellectual property. Both may earn well, but only one is quietly assembling a structure that will outlast them. Ownership compounds. A share in a company pays dividends. Those dividends buy more shares. Those shares generate more dividends. Cycle repeats. Land appreciates. Rent flows. The rent funds additional acquisitions. A business produces profits that can acquire other businesses. Over time, the owner begins to control economic engines rather than simply participating in them. So, history consistently shows that wealth tends to accumulate with those who own productive assets. That includes stocks, businesses, intellectual property, and income generating real estate. The pattern can be observed globally. If you look at the United States, long term household wealth is strongly tied to ownership of equities and property. In Europe, similarly, family wealth is often anchored in privately held companies passed across generations. Here in the Caribbean, Jamaica, ownership of land, shares on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and operating businesses has historically been one of the clearest paths to durable financial stability. The principle remains consistent. Ownership matters. It matters because ownership converts effort into structure. A worker exchanges hours for income. An owner builds systems that produce income. This is not to diminish labor. Labor is necessary. It's often the first step. Income from labor can become the capital that produces the assets. But if the transition from labor to ownership never happens, wealth rarely forms. Ownership also carries responsibility. Assets must be selected carefully, businesses must be managed well, investments require patience, market fluctuates, property requires maintenance, companies experience cycles. Ownership is not passive in the early stages, it demands discipline. Yet, the long-term reward is control. That's control over income sources, control over time, control over financial destiny. A society that understands ownership begins to think differently about money. People ask different questions. Instead of asking what job pays the most, they ask what assets can I acquire? Instead of focusing only on salary increases, they focus on acquiring stakes in productive enterprises. The shift is subtle but profound. Ownership transforms individuals from participants in the economy into builders of it. That is why the conversation about wealth must always return to one central idea: not consumption, not status, ownership. Because when ownership spreads through families and communities, something powerful begins to happen. Wealth stops being temporary, it becomes structural. If this has helped you rethink how wealth is built, consider taking the next step. Ownership is not an abstract idea, it's a practical path that begins with education, discipline, and deliberate action. Join the community at Wealthittude, where we focus on the financial and legal realities of building assets in Jamaica and across the Caribbean. If you found value in the discussion, share it with someone who needs to understand the power of ownership. Subscribe for deeper discussions on financial structure and long-term asset building. Join the growing Wealthittude community focused on practical wealth education. And visit our website at www.wealthittude.com for more.